Hello, people. Today I have with me a woman known for her extensive work in anime, games, and Western animation with roles such as Sora in Digimon, Ino in Naruto, and Tails in Sonic Boom, Miss Colleen O'Shaughnessey.
Hello.
And how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing very good. All right, so first off, well, what is it that got you interested in acting?
I actually was very interested in voice acting before. Well, I don't know. I guess it started out in musical theater. So my sister did a show, and I was in the orchestra playing my clarinet, and she was having way much more fun than I was. So I said, "Hey, I could try that." And then so I started doing musicals when I was about 12, and I did it all through high school, and then I went to college for that. I went to the University of Michigan and got a BFA in musical theater. And then I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to do voiceovers because somebody said, "Oh, yeah, that's somebody's job." And I went, "Wait a minute. I could be the Little Mermaid? That's me." And I always kind of gave voices to animals and babies that couldn't talk. And it just sort of always did that. When I was in high school, I was in this group called the Peanut Butter Players, and they voted me most likely to be a Muppet baby. Because I always just did it, and a lot of times I didn't even realize that I was doing it. So I was in a dance class at college, and somebody said, "Was that you?" I'm like, "Oh, sorry." They just sort of come out of me, and she said, "No, you need to do voiceovers." And so I loaded up the truck and moved to Beverly. Well, not really Beverly Hills, but I moved to California because this was the place to do it, and there it is. That's what I do.
And do you like what was it like when you got your first gig?
The funny thing is, my very first paying gig was they used my audition, so I didn't have to actually go and do the job. So that was kind of, I was like, oh, it was a little anticlimactic because I was like, I was auditioning and stuff, and you just, you wait for the first one finally, and I got a call that I booked it, but I didn't have to go and do it because I'd already done it. So that was a little, but when I booked my first show, oh my gosh, that was so, so very exciting. I could not contain myself. It was very exciting. I played the part of Polly McShane in The Kids from Room 402. At the time, it was on the Fox Family Network, which is now ABC Family. That was my very, very first show, which was right on the heels of the first job that I got paid for was a Reporter Barbie book. It was one of those books where you push the buttons and the things talk.
Yeah.
I was a skipper. And I said, "It's fun to be a reporter every time you push the button." And then I booked Polly. And then shortly after that is when I booked Sora on Digimon.
Hmm.
So that was
And what was it like going back and forth? Because the kids from room 402, 402, that was a Western work, so that was recorded as a group. I'm pretty sure, probably.
Yeah, it was original animation. So yeah, we all would come in together, as many as could be there at the same time, as schedules permitting and whatnot. And it was so much fun. I mean, because you're feeding off of each other and you're acting together, and it was really, really fun. And then yeah, Digimon, very different because it was anime and I was alone, and it was very much on the job training because I had never done it before. I'd never done dubbing. I'd never done any sort of. I hadn't even done looping. Or Walla or any of that stuff where you get the three beeps and then you go and you have to match picture, and it's a lot like tapping your head and rubbing your belly. It was very it's hard. It's not easy actually.
Like, were you
Because I've done it for a long time, but in the beginning it was really hard.
were you aware of anime at the time? Like, were you like consciously aware of it?
I knew it existed, but it wasn't really in my realm. No, I didn't watch it or I wasn't all that familiar. No. And then they had me. I was auditioning for the show, and I didn't really know what it was. So then when I went into the first day, I did a lot of sweating because I was alone and I didn't know what I was doing. And, there's a lot of efforts and there's a lot of action, and to do that and in a room by yourself, you get embarrassed and you don't really, because you don't know what you're doing. So you just have to, muster up all the stuff you remember from your acting classes of, you just got to commit and you just got to do it and you're in this battle and go with it. So it was always better because a lot of times when we recorded Digimon, we were in smaller studios, so they couldn't see me very well, which I was glad because I didn't want anybody watching me while I did it. Now I don't care. I'll die in a living room. That's fine. It was really embarrassing because I didn't know what my face was doing. I didn't know what it looked like. I mean, and a million different ways to say, huh? Like, and a lot of times, with anime, in the script, it'll say a gasp. Well, a gasp in anime can mean anything. It could mean, most of the time it's not what most people think of as a gasp, like it's not that. They want something that's more verbal. They want something that has, are we surprised? Are we scared? Are we worried? Are we startled? Is it a big one? Is it a little one? So it was a lot of on the job training because they don't give you the script ahead of time. So you have to just kind of figure it out as you go. So, yeah.
What are some of your favorite roles that you can think of?
Well, Polly is one of my absolute favorites. She was hilarious. She's really loud, and she collected spoons, and she liked to do the polka. I actually got to work with Edie McClurg, which was so amazing. And the engineers know, who their actors are when they come in. And so they will assign you a stand sometimes. And so you have your place. So she ended up getting assigned the stand next to me. And I was doing my thing. And she literally was covering her ears. She was like, oh, you're so loud. And after that, she recorded on her own. Loud. But she's one of my absolute favorites. Wasp from the Avengers. Mm-hmm. Love her. She was so much fun to be, she was funny and sarcastic, but she also was kind of a badass because she kicked everybody's ass, which was awesome, even though she was really little. Jazz from Danny Phantom. She was really fun. One of my favorite anime characters was Susie from Zatch Bell, which is very random, but she was just, I was always like, poor Susie. She's just so dumb. Because, but she was just so simple and silly and didn't really know that anybody else thought she was dumb or knew that she was dumb. And I love playing Tails. That's one of my favorite shows to work on, Sonic. The group that we have together we just laugh the whole time. The scripts are amazing. Tails is smart and funny and he's sort of endearing, he's kind of sweet and he looks up to Sonic and I don't know.
All right. And I found it interesting. Like, were you aware, because it's Roger, you, Travis Willingham, and who's the one who plays Amy? I forget.
Cindy Robinson. And were you aware, because Tails was originally Kate Higgins a while back with Roger and all the other people. Yes.
And do you know why she never returned? Because it's never really been clear.
I don't. When I was auditioning for the show, I had done a couple of the video games as other characters, and I wasn't really familiar all that much with them as characters, because when you do a video game, most of the time you're by yourself too, so you never even know, who's on the game with you. Especially big games, forget it. There could be, 500 actors, and you worked on that too? I had no idea. Mm-hmm. So when I got, called for the audition, I went, and I was actually had a callback for Styx as well as him. And with Styx, they really didn't know what they wanted. They were I think they were just kind of waiting to hear what they were like, oh yeah, that's what we want. So it was a really long callback because everybody that went in for Styx, they just didn't know. They're like, well, try something different. Okay, can you be more specific? No, they just try something. So it was one of those auditions where you're just like, okay, they don't know what they want, so you just got to give them something and see where it goes. I was actually at the callback with Kate, and she told me at the callback that she had done the games before and she was pretty sure that she wasn't going to get to do the show. And I asked her and I said, do you want me to not audition? Because I can do that. I don't want to take your part. And we had worked together many times. And she said, no, it's fine. She said, I really don't think they're going to use me for whatever reason. And I don't think she knew, and I don't know. And they don't often explain things like that. Like I was originally Jira in what was that show on Nickelodeon? They were like, oh shoot, I can't remember. Anyway, we did the pilot all together, and somebody got fired. Something happened, and we were supposed to do 15 or 16 shows, which is a weird number because normally it's like 13 or 26.
Yeah.
We were going to do like 15, and they fired everybody except for one person, and I got to re-audition for my part, and they really didn't change it, and then Kari Walgren did it for who knows why. So, weird stuff happens, and nobody gets an explanation. So I did feel bad about it, though. I really did. I had, I didn't know why, but I did talk to her, so we're good.
Hey, and I've noticed something interesting because you got Sora and Polly like around the same time.
Yep.
And it's very, very rare. Like I've seen this very rarely where voice actors get Western work just as quick as anime work. Because Steve Bloom took him a while to get a lot of Western work. Same thing with Kari Walgren. Why do you think that is with you? Because you're the first person I've ever really seen with that.
I don't know. It's a good question. I did not go into voiceover with the intention of doing anime, and a lot of times, everything that I do is very cyclical. Like there'll be times when I do a ton of video games, or I'll do a ton of commercials, or I'll do, and a lot of times it's kind of segregated like that, but I kind of do everything, and I didn't really know about anime much. Digimon sort of fell in my lap, and I guess maybe that's why, because I was on Digimon, and Digimon was on for so long. And then as you start doing anime, people go, oh, she does anime, so let's call her in for this other thing. And then it sort of goes from there. But then I was already doing the live action stuff, and Kids from 402. I can't remember how many seasons we did, but I was still doing that when I think I was still doing that when I got Life and Times of Juniper Lee. Or no, you know what? I was doing Life and Times of Juniper Lee when I was doing Danny Phantom. So I was doing those two together. So yeah, it is kind of rare because a lot of people that do original animation don't do anime, and vice versa. I guess I'm lucky. I don't know. I don't know. I am really lucky. I mean, I feel so grateful for every job that I get. I still get really excited when I book something new. And I think especially with anime, because it's not an easy thing. It's funny because you get paid less, but it's a lot harder, because the thing is already made, and you have to make it sound real and make sense in a different language. And with the beeps and the action, and it's like, oh, well, now I got the timing down, but I still have to have the intention behind it. So it's a lot of, we always joked on Digimans. We always joked that, act faster, because you got to fit all this stuff into all these flaps, and it's a skill that not everybody can just pick up and do. So when you find somebody that can do it and can do it quickly, because I tend to knock it out pretty fast, they want you for other stuff. So, work begets work, I suppose. But,
and I've also noticed with because you've been on Digimon, you've been on the first two Digimon, you were on Data Squad, and now you're currently on Fusion.
Yeah.
Is that a coincidence? Like, is that just a major coincidence?
Yes, because you audition for all of them, and it's not necessarily the same people doing it. So, yeah, it's funny that I've been on every incarnation of Digimon. I was thinking, I just worked on Fusion yesterday, and I was thinking about that. I'm like, they can't do a Digimon without me.
Because I remember when I interviewed Derek Stephen Prince, because he was on he's been on every series except one, and I was wondering if that was do you just like being on Digimon, or is that just a coincidence? Because that's a pretty big coincidence.
Yeah, it is kind of coincidental. I mean, like I said, with all the anime stuff, they kind of know who does it, so you get called in for the auditions, and if they find a spot for you, they do. Plus, a lot of it goes through Studiopolis, and I do a fair amount of stuff for them. So, everybody likes to work with people that they know, especially if they know that they're going to show up on time and they're going to be able to do the job, and they're fun to work with, and you like to work with the people that you know. So, Jamie gives me lots of work, which is great.
All right, I noticed you were in I Know That Voice, that documentary that came out a couple years ago.
Uh-huh.
And what was that like doing that?
I was so honored, first of all, to be, chosen to be interviewed. The interview was a blast. The guys were really funny. They asked great questions. It's funny because like we got to go to the premiere. If you made it into the movie, for sure you got to go. And I was so excited. None of us had seen, at least I hadn't, seen any bits of it. We'd seen the trailers, the little things that they had put together for promo purposes, but I hadn't seen any of it. So I had no idea how much of the interview that I had done was going to make into the film. And it was like, have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it a few times.
Yeah. So if you blink, you miss my little bit. It's like this very small snippet, which I was so grateful to have, made even that, because there were people that didn't even get to be interviewed. But it was, I was flattered. I was honored. The amazing thing watching it was I've worked with almost every person in that film, which is, that's exciting to me, that I've gotten to work with all these amazing, talented, ridiculously talented people. And they're all really great too. They're fun and silly and ridiculous, and the things they can do are just amazing. So to be part of that group is pretty fun and exciting.
And there's one thing I really like asking voice actors this question. Do you watch like any of the stuff that you're in? Like, have you watched anything you've appeared in?
I do. I have kids, and it's like when I do little kid stuff now, they don't watch it as much anymore because they're 10 and 13, and I just drop them at the mall. Now. But I have Sonic. We recorded, and we haven't watched much of it lately because we don't have time to sit and watch TV. But I do. I do like to watch what I do. It was very weird at first. But it's, it's kind of fun. And the kids like to tell their friends, oh, my mom's on this or that. So that's kind of fun. My daughter, she asked me the other day, she said, Mom, are you a celebrity? I said, I don't think so. She goes, no, you definitely are. Because I guess for school, they had to write down their favorite celebrity or something. She's like, I'm writing you because you definitely are. People know who you are, and you got to go to Comic-Con. So I said, okay. So she likes it. She likes it. I guess it gives her some street cred or something. More moms on Sonic. But I don't feel like I'm a celebrity. I feel like it's kind of it's a good sort of way of getting to do what you love, but nobody's hounding me for sure, which is fine, which is good. I can still be like normal mom that goes to Trader Joe's and nobody recognizes me, which is fine.
So you got used to it after a while, hearing your voice and things.
Yeah, I did, and it's fun. Like we used to watch Avengers all the time when it was on, and Danny Phantom. What was really exciting, I was in the short for Monsters University. They Party Central, and it was supposed to go along with the DVD when it came out, Christmas before last or something. Whenever it was released, it was supposed to be on the DVD, and it wasn't on there. And so I did a search just to see, because when you go and you do those sessions, almost everyone that's in the room, they have a big Walla group. And so almost everyone in the room it's almost like on the spot auditioning. So everybody does all the lines. So you never know what ends up in the movie until you see the movie. So we went to see, my daughter really wanted to see the Muppets, the latest Muppet movie.
Yeah.
And it was playing before that movie. And I had no idea. So we got in our seats and they're like, oh, blah, 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 Monsters University Party Central. And I was like, hey, that's the thing I did. I wonder if I'm in it. And I was the mom. So that was really exciting. We're in a movie theater and it came on and it was me and I got a credit and the whole deal. And so it was very exciting.
Looking around at everybody is like, I was in that.
My kids did that when we went to see Ponyo. Because they were little when it came out, and we went in the theater, and they heard me, and they're like, "Mommy, that's you!" It was pretty funny.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, so I'm used to it now. It's it's still kind of a novelty. Like at Thanksgiving, my whole family, I was back in Michigan, and they all watched a couple episodes of Sonic. Like I had, 20 people or however many people were at Thanksgiving sitting around the TV watching Sonic. It was kind of exciting. Yeah.
And I've noticed because again, your Tails and your Konohamaru on Naruto, like the little boy.
Yeah.
Is that weird to like tell people that like you're a little boy character? Like, is that weird?
It was at first because I did a fair amount of boy characters. Now it's not because I do so many of them, and to me it seems normal. When I first, I had a producer's callback for Powerpuff Girls, and the casting director at the time, she told me, she said, whatever I was doing, she said it sounds too much like a boy, and I went, oh. That's weird. Okay. Because that never had occurred to me. All of my characters in my head were girls because I'm a girl. So why would I do boys? That just doesn't make any sense to me. So I said, oh, okay. So we went through the rest of the audition, blah, blah, blah. And she said, you need to tell your agent that you do boy voices. I was like, okay. So I started kind of doing research because I was like, I don't really do boy voices. That's so weird to me. Oh, okay. So I started listening to more, and we had a neighbor kid, and I started listening to his voice and trying to do what he did. And so I was like, I could do this. And then I had a phone audition, which was one of the weirdest auditions I ever had. And she wanted a boy, but she wanted like every age. She's like, okay, now be a 2-year-old boy. Now be 7. Now be 11. Now be 14. And I was like, whoa, it was a good challenge for me, but I had never done that before. And so I was like, okay, I guess I have to really nail this down. What does a 4-year-old sound like as opposed to a 7-year-old or an 11-year-old, or, what kinds of things do they talk about and stuff. So, but yeah, it's not so weird anymore. Although I did tell, when I first started playing Tails, I was back in Michigan over the summer, and my friend's daughter, I think she was like 8 or 9 at the time, and she was very familiar with Sonic. I said, oh yeah, I'm doing Tails. And she looked at me and she was like, but Tails is a boy. And I said, yeah, I know. I'm playing. She goes, but he's a boy. Yes, Tails is a boy. And she just kind of looked sideways and walked out of the room. And then later I found her staring at me, and she goes, Tails is a boy. Yes, he is. And it was really hard for her to wrap her head around that.
Like, did you try to do the voice for her or something?
I did do the voice for her, and she wasn't buying it. She's just like, no, that's too weird. I don't get that.
I remember, I think Tara Sands told me, she said, it's just like kids don't really think about it, I think. Like,
right. And I don't think they don't think about their cartoon characters being, real people behind those voices. I do Pickles on Doc McStuffins, and my nieces and nephews watch it. And my little nephew, Mac, they kept saying, Mac, that's Auntie Colleen, that's Auntie Colleen. It's not, it's Pickles! I mean, he got so mad. It's not Auntie Colleen! It's Pickles! No, that's her. No, it isn't. I mean, he really... And then, of course, every time it was on, they had to mess with him. Poor kid.
Yeah.
He got very upset.
I got to say, thank you so much for letting me interview you.
Absolutely. Thank you for calling.
And is there any advice you can give to people interested in becoming voice actors?
I always tell people take acting classes, take improv classes, and really just... challenge yourself to, think of it as characters, not as silly voices. If you can think of it more from an actor's perspective, creating characters that have full lives and attitudes and ideas and relationships, you will create more well-rounded characters, and your voices will be much more unique.